How attractive do you think you are? Seriously, give yourself a number on a scale of 1 to 10. Do you have one? Here's the issue though, you're probably the worst person in the world to answer that question. You may be considerably less attractive than you think, or considerably more, and strangely, both mistakes can come from the exact same issue. You have absolutely no clue what it's like to meet you. Think about how bizarre your relationship with your appearance actually is. You've seen your face thousands upon thousands of times, you've inspected individual features, learned which side you prefer, what haircuts work, what photos make you look shit and which photos make you think, see now that's what I actually look like. The thing is, others don't experience you that way. They don't encounter a collection of individual features, they encounter the whole thing at once. And when you look at yourself, you don't just see a face. You see a face buried underneath years of information about the person wearing it. Here's something to try. Take a photo of yourself and flip it horizontally. There's a decent chance you prefer that image. Experiments have found that people tend to prefer the mirror-reversed version of their own face, while the people who know them prefer the normal version. In other words, each person preferred the orientation they're accustomed to seeing, which means even something as simple as, oh, it's a nice picture of me, can partly mean that's the version of me my brain is accustomed to. And familiarity is not your only distortion. You also know your own insecurities. Nobody at a party sees your face and thinks, his left nostril is slightly larger than his right. But you might, because you discovered that asymmetry years ago and have been involuntarily checking on it ever since. But the opposite can happen too. You may have become so accustomed to an attractive feature you possess that you've stopped realizing that it's unusual. Maybe it's your eyes, or your bone structure, or your smile, the way your face changes when you're animated. To you, it's just your face. But to somebody meeting you for the first time, it's not so ordinary. And this is where things get even weirder. Because there isn't actually one universal attractiveness standard sitting somewhere waiting to be discovered. There is consensus and there is taste. Yes, some characteristics are widely preferred, but people also disagree, often substantially, about which faces they find attractive. Which means you could very well be a 5 to one person, an 8 to another, and completely invisible to a third. But we're still missing perhaps the biggest distortion of all. You almost never experience yourself the way a stranger attracted to you experiences you. When you see yourself, there's no discovery, there's no novelty, there's no mystery, but attraction in real life is not a passport photo. It's movement, voice, posture, eye contact, timing, expression. It's your sense of humor, the tiny changes in someone's face when they're listening to you. The difference between their neutral expression and what happens when they smile specifically at you. A frozen image strips most of that away, which is why asking the question, am I attractive, might actually be a poorly constructed question. The better question is, attractive to who, under what conditions, and in what version of me? And there is one final complication. Your estimate of your attractiveness probably isn't based entirely on your appearance anyway. It's also based on evidence you've received in your life. People who approached you, who rejected you, who complimented you, who dated you, who didn't date you. Except there's a vicious statistical problem. You don't observe most attraction. Think about every person who has ever found you attractive but never told you. The stranger who might have looked twice, the friend who briefly had a crush on you, or the co-worker who would have said yes if you asked them out. People who assumed that you wouldn't be interested. None of that enters your data set, so someone can spend years receiving very little romantic interest and conclude that I'm not attractive, while the real variable might be how often other people's attraction is visible. And the opposite is true too, right? Like a charismatic, confident celebrity may receive a lot of attention and attribute all of it to them being very physically attractive, which is incorrect in its diagnosis. So go back to the number that you chose at the beginning. Maybe you said a 6 or an 8 or a 4. Here's what I think is more interesting than the number. Where did the number come from? Your mirror, your photographs, dating apps, the compliments you receive, the rejections you've received, one cruel comment that somebody made when you were like 15. Because whatever number you assign to yourself, you're trying to measure an object while standing inside the object you're measuring. You don't have much information, you have too much familiarity, too much emotional history, and not enough access to what others actually think. Which means the unsettling possibility is not that you're less attractive than you think, it's that you could be way more attractive than you think and be one of the last people to ever find out. Until next time.